Welcome, my special friend Lori Felton, to You Are Significant. I'm so glad that Lori can be here with us on this episode. She is a military wife, a homeschool mom. She has a special needs child in her family and has become a special needs advocate for families. And we do Plexus together. We've become friends in so many ways. We have so much in common. She loves to garden. She loves herbs and being outside, being in nature. She's creative. I know you are going to absolutely enjoy getting to know Lori tonight on this episode. Thank you for joining me on You Are Significant, Lori.
Absolutely. It is my delight and my pleasure to be with you. You're one
I'm
of my
so glad.
favorite people.
Oh, and I hope that you check out the episode on YouTube because she has on the cutest outfit and it matches her quilt background. And the bed behind her is not a bed, it is a couch that used to be a bed from the 1800s
Mhm.
that she redid. Can you show us that just a
Oh,
little
goodness.
bit? Tell us just a little bit about your
Oh,
bed that you
okay.
redid.
Well, okay. So I like to take old shabby things and make them new. And I've been doing that since I was in high school. So when I got married, I needed a bed. And I, being a young military wife, didn't know at the time that beds were sizes. I mean, I knew that there was like a king and a queen, but this bed was I bought from a soldier's wife. They had 4 or 5 children. They were moving and couldn't take the bed with the family. So this was a hand me down from another military family. And then I soon realized, oh, I'm 5'9" and this bed is like 5'6". There is no way my husband, who is 6'3", is we're going to fit in this. So
Oh.
I said, Mom, can you hang on to this for a while until we get done with this duty station? And so she hung on to it for 20 some odd years and
Wow.
it was in her guest bedroom, took really good care of it. And she painted it white to go with her lavender bedroom. And when she gave it back to me, I took the paint off of this portion because I just love the hand scrolling.
So
This is
pretty.
all handmade. It's not machined. It's pegged together. Um, and um, a friend of mine came over and helped me saw the footboard in half, and that makes the sides of it. And he had the math brain to figure out how to do the seat. I didn't have the math brain. I have the idea, and then I need some help at executing it. So he brought the things over and we put it together. And
Wow.
it just so happened that he was one of my son's friends from homeschooling. So our family kind of grew up together, and it was fun for he and I to make this, and it was just really fun.
Oh, and now you have that as like a special memento from that
You know,
era of your life.
yes.
Mhm.
And every piece of furniture in my house has a story. So don't get me started.
Oh. Oh my goodness,
I just
Lori.
buy anything new.
Now I want a tour
I buy it. I
of
buy,
your house.
I'll find
It'll
it
have to be another
another
episode.
day. Another day. I find it on the side of the road, and people have thrown it out, neglected it, cast it away,
Mhm.
and it just reminds me of the story of redemption.
Yes.
That while we think we are cast away,
Mhm.
it is the one who created us who can recreate us.
Mm. Yes. Oh.
And when I've given away furniture to Well, military families moving in the neighborhood. Hey, we don't have a bed for such and such kid. I'm like, oh, don't worry, I'll find one. Lo and behold, the Lord always provides. There's, somebody, another military family is moving out, and this bed is old and chippy, or maybe it's broken or something, and I'll fix it and give it a new coat of paint, um, or refinish it completely, take it off and bleach it. And then give it to the family who needed it. So it's been
Oh.
it's been a sweet way to, love people that needed things, and it doesn't always have to be new and from IKEA. I've never
Mm-mm.
been to IKEA, so there you go.
Lori, you're going to have to come and help me with my new house. Help me to get it. You'd have like a big open slate.
Oh,
Is
oh,
am I tempting you?
yes, you are. You don't live that far away either.
I don't. I don't. I'm going to live even closer to you now that I'm moving to
Oh,
Birmingham.
well, that's right. That's only 3 hours
Mhm.
away. Oh, I can make
Mhm.
that. Yeah, by 9 o'clock. See you tomorrow at 9. No, see you Monday at 9.
See you Monday at 9. I'll
Where's
have the
my bike?
door wide open, ready to receive you.
Oh, yeah. I have moved 27 times. I know how to unpack.
You know how to travel. You This is becoming a real date, not a joke.
Mm, now
I think you have to put me on your calendar now, Lori.
okay. Next week, we'll see you. Yeah,
I would love
I
that.
I've learned how to unpack and pack, that's for sure. It takes money.
And since you're so good at redeeming things and you are also an outdoor person, I'm going to need help with this yard. There's no
Uh-oh.
landscaping and the front is concrete driveway. It's an
Yeah,
L-shaped house, so and the back is like a curve
okay,
with like a ditch, but it's not cement. It just slopes and then goes up to another road behind, and it's on like a triangle that gets wider at the back of the lot.
okay.
So I'm gonna need ideas on how to landscape this, and you're the perfect person for that too.
I'm seeing beyond you had a ditch.
Mhm.
Does that get a lot of water in it
I don't know yet. I
when
don't
you have cut
know.
sprinklers? Okay,
I'm
so
praying that we're okay.
here's my best advice. My advice based on experience. I have to tell you, when we moved to Fort Campbell, Kentucky, I had a 4 and a 2-year-old, and it was the first place that we could. Well, it's the first place we bought a house, so
Okay.
we could dig in the dirt. It was our dirt. We could paint. We could, because you can't really do that in military housing,
Right.
or you couldn't back in my day. Um, so there was a willow tree we lived on a hill, and there was a willow tree in the bottom of the yard, and it was enormous. And the way the roots of the willow tree came down, the kids could lay on the ground and not even be seen because of the depth of the roots. It was
Wow.
wonderful. It was wonderful.
Was it a weeping willow tree?
Yes, a weeping willow tree.
And
Yeah.
normally their roots are close to the surface.
This was a huge tree.
It was an old one.
A huge tree. You couldn't put your arms
Wow.
around it. Like 3 adults could put their arms around it. I've never seen one that
If
big.
that tree could talk.
Yes. Oh, yes. So, and just beyond that was the ditch and the road, and lovely big yard that sloped downward. The kids had a great time, and we, it was big enough that we could put a swing out there. The branches were thick enough we could put a swing. So we were getting a swing in, and just a small swing. I didn't want to do an adult swing because I thought it's a willow tree.
Yeah.
Just for you guys, just for the little people. And I thought, we will put dirt around these roots and plant impatiens, and it would
Oh.
be so beautiful. And we did. We spent some bucks, and we
Mhm.
got dirt, and we planted, and my daughter had such a great time playing in the dirt. And then it rained.
Oh no.
That whole tree. That's why it was so big, because they need water. It was so huge because every time it rained, that was where, from the hills above us and the street above us, that was the water
Path.
down to the Cumberland River. Yeah,
So that willow is literally sitting in that path. So
yeah,
the impatience
that
went
was
away. But did
gone.
the willow make it? The willow
Oh
tree was
yeah, not
fine?
a problem. It was
It
so
was used
happy.
to it.
Yeah, it was used to it. That's how it made its living, is in that water. So if we had a gully washing rain, the whole front yard, that whole bottom portion, it never got close to the house or anything. It
Mhm.
was just a river, and
Mhm.
then it drained off and went right on into the Cumberland River. Yeah. So,
Wow.
lesson learned. So here's what you do: you live in a house 1 year before you do anything with it.
Crazy
And as
expensive at least.
as we're here in winter, we're here in winter. So the plants that you don't know are there, they may have died back already.
There may be something there, just not in a mulched area because there's no defined, with flower bed, some kind of edging and mulch and there's none of that. And the house is only 2 years old.
Yeah,
And it was just a couple with little kids that lived in it
yeah.
before. So they were busy. I'm sure they might have been newlyweds or not
Mhm,
not long, not in
mhm,
their early years of marriage. I
mhm.
know us, we didn't have a lot of money for flowers. I was asking people who had stuff they were digging up to thin
To
it out if I could
Look,
have some.
absolutely. I'm always sharing flowers, and I'm always asking.
Me too. I love For me, it's more special because
It
I
is.
remember who gave me
It
what
is.
I have, and when I see that growing, I think of
Mhm,
them,
mhm.
and I just feel so much
Exactly.
gratitude that
Yep.
I have. It's almost like having a piece of our friendship growing in my yard and
E
bringing beauty.
exactly. Exactly. You got it. Yeah.
Well, let's get into your story a little
Yes.
bit. I'm having so much fun. And y'all listening in, you really are here for like me and Lori visit. We're having a visit and you get to listen in.
Exactly.
But I want
Exactly.
Lori to share some of her story, and I'm sure God has laid on your heart a story or two that you
Oh,
might have thought, you know what, I really want to share that when I hop on Darlene's podcast. You are
mhm,
significant because I'm sure that you can see through your journey as a military wife for many years and a homeschool mom,
mhm.
how God has whispered, if not louder than a
And I
whisper, said,
yelled.
"Hey, you are significant and you matter, and
Mhm,
what you do, and if you don't do something, that matters." That we're coming up on 1 year of this podcast,
mhm,
and whenever, like you said, living in the house for a year, when I've lived in this podcast for a year,
mhm,
and as I have had this mission to help people know their significance and that
mhm,
God put seeds of greatness inside of them.
mhm,
And because of that, there is purpose.
mhm,
There's the Great Commission, go ye therefore into all the world and teach all nations,
mhm,
baptizing them in the name of the Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit. So we all have this mission to become saved and then to tell others. But there's also a purpose in our life, I believe, that is unique to each one.
mhm,
And sometimes we discover that early in our childhood, and sometimes it's as a teenager or a young adult, or maybe married. Maybe God's led you to be single.
mhm,
But at some point, God, I believe, gives us a lot of clarity around our purpose. And sometimes, too, for me, part of how that's unraveled is with each hat I've worn or each challenge that I've gone through and been faithful through,
mhm,
God has shown me on the other side of that how I can serve
mhm,
through that challenge and give back through that challenge. So Tell us what's come to mind for you as you knew you were going to visit with us today, what you
Oh,
wanted to share.
wow. Um, well, let's begin in the beginning. Back in 1964. No, just
Mhm.
kidding. That would be 3
That's
hours.
a good place to
Yeah.
start, though, the beginning.
Yeah. Well, I'll just give you the highlights. I was the oldest of three. I have a younger brother and sister. My dad was a university professor, and he taught first. Well, he was in school when I was born, and then he went to Auburn, and then we went to University of Georgia for his Master's of Fine Arts. He was an art professor, so
Mm.
a university professor is a unique position. There are not many, you know. There you may have 2 or 300 on your faculty if you're a large university. So there are not many like you in, and of course, then being in art, that's even more unusual. So, there was a lot of teasing growing up, and, are your parents hippies? I'm like, I don't know what a hippie is. My parents are my parents. I don't know. We grow tomatoes in the backyard, and my dad goes to work every day. What do you do? I don't know. I wasn't any different than anybody else. Um, but I was. I grew up in a very creative home, a very productive home. We were always very busy, enjoying the outdoors, enjoying digging in the dirt, creating new things. My mom refinished furniture. My dad painted paintings. My mom painted paintings. My dad dug in the dirt. Um, we had ducks and cats and dachshunds, and we lived in an old house, built in 1910. I mean, it was a very um, beautiful childhood. I'll
Mm.
say that. Yeah, it was a beautiful childhood. A lot of fun, a lot of creativity. My dad always had a studio at the house. So if we had a house that had a studio in back. So we could all go out there and he would give us little spaces. My mom learned she taught herself how to make stained glass windows because
Wow.
a friend of hers wanted to design kitchens, and she asked her to, like, come and see my shop. So my mother went to the shop, and this was before it opened. And she said, I have an idea for a stained glass window right here, but I don't know anybody that makes a stained glass window. My mother said, I might be able to. So the summer of 1976, we spent walking back and forth to the library, checking out books on how to make stained glass windows. And guess what we taught ourselves how to do?
Make
Make
'em.
stained glass windows.
Mhm.
Because I was, what, 14 at the time? 14
Mm.
at the time. I was her assistant. So
Mhm.
she let me do all kinds of things. Now I am the proud owner of about 6 windows that she made. And she started a little business making stained glass windows after having never made a stained glass window in her life.
Mm.
And so that is just our creative journey. And now with YouTube, it's like massively wild. We can just go crazy with seeing all of these creators creating things. And that's
Yes.
a lot of fun. And so now she watercolors. She's 83. She has taught herself how to watercolor. And
Wow.
she started taking, I don't know who her teacher is, online. She said, I've signed myself up for a class today, and I'm learning how to watercolor. Like,
I love that she's still learning things
she
at
is.
83.
At 83. Mhm.
I know more than one person right now that's 83, and it seems like we have some very special 83-year-old women on our planet right now.
I think so.
Multiple, like, I'm not trying to make your mom not be
No, no.
as unique as she is, but
Yeah,
I'm just saying there's something very special about 83-year-old women right now.
they are the children of the greatest generation.
Mm. Why do you say that?
The men and women of the late 30s and early 40s
Mm.
had some pretty difficult times to live in
Mhm.
globally.
Mhm.
And I think their children, I know they experienced that.
Mhm.
And I think from that, they, whoop, they
Lori just got a thumbs up from StreamYard.
um, I think they experienced that, and that just became a part of who they are. They knew how to um, make something out of nothing.
Mhm.
And
I agree.
my family was from Delta and Mount Meigs, Alabama. They moved.
Where is that? Is that close to Auburn?
Mount Meigs is near Montgomery,
Near Montgomery.
and
Okay.
Delta and Anniston, Lineville, Chehaw,
Yeah.
kind of near you, up
Mhm.
northern Alabama, in
Mhm.
the mountains where they grew moonshine.
Grew it. Right.
One of my granddaddy's greatest stories was when he was in high school. He would take the wagon through the country to pick up the kids to go to school, and if if it was a certain time of year, he would drive on this little dusty road, and he would have to make the horses trot really quickly so they wouldn't get shot by the moonshiners.
Oh
So
my. Woo.
yeah. And then
Well,
when
I
it
loved
came,
what you said about these women learned how to make something out of nothing.
correct.
And the ones that I
Entrepreneur.
know who are that age, they are very disciplined,
Hmm.
but they also, the ones I know, have a really great love for God's word.
Yes.
They really treasure it, they
Hmm.
spend time in it.
Hmm.
Um, and share it with other people
Hmm.
and love doing that.
Hmm.
They really, truly, it's not like a box they're checking. It's
No.
like a hunger for
Yes.
God's word, and they love to feast on it, and
Hmm.
it's a priority, and they set boundaries around it. They're, one of my friends, her name is B, and she studies God's word, and she'll say, okay, I will do that after I'm done with my Bible study. And then she posts her Bible study notes in a messenger thread.
Oh,
And
neat.
one day I had talked to her and she posted the notes. I read all of them. I was just needing a lot of encouragement that day.
Yeah.
And I read all of it. And it was from Hebrews, which is one of my favorite books of the
Mhm.
New Testament. And and she was at the bottom, she goes, "Well, this was way too long, but there you go." And I posted below it. I was like, "It was not too long." And then I just posted a few thoughts, and I was like, "I'm posting these thoughts because your study made me think of them, and this has been so rich." I
Mhm.
didn't want her to feel like I was criticizing or adding anything on. Her notes were so, so good, and
Mhm.
it was more like, because of your study and you shared it, it made me think of some things too. And
Mhm.
she appreciated me sharing some things
Mhm.
too. And I just feel like the women I know that are that age they have a lot of gratitude,
Mhm.
and they're strong women, really
Mhm.
strong women, but they're also very gracious.
Mhm. They have seen a lot.
Mhm. Mhm.
I would say we have seen a lot too,
Yeah.
but they have seen at least 20 years more than we have,
Yeah.
or more.
So I know you didn't stay a child forever. So tell us
No.
about what from there. You grew up, you had this
So I
beautiful
grew up
home
at
with
age
these amazing
10.
parents that were creative and
Yep.
not just students of being creative, but actually painting and growing things, and
Hmm.
your
And they were
dad being
teaching.
a professor and
They,
teaching
they
others.
were sharing what they knew with others, and
Hmm.
they would do that both professionally in the classroom and then just at home. Our homes
Hmm.
always had people.
Were you homeschooled?
No.
No, what was your school years like? Did you go
um,
to public school or
Public school.
private school or
Public school. Yeah.
public school?
Yeah.
Mhm.
And when I was 16, we moved from North Mississippi to South Mississippi, where he was in the classroom, but more of an administrative position. So he was head of the department at USM, the art department at University of Southern Mississippi. And then he went to Winthrop University in Rock Hill. Is that North or South Carolina? I can never remember. Sorry, North or South Carolina. I can never remember. So yeah,
That was a big change. The culture, I'm thinking, is different
we went
from
from a very small town, 88 kids in my class, to Hattiesburg High School, where I was one of 370, 380.
and
So
by this time you're 16?
I was
Or
between my 15th and 16th year. Yeah. And I
wow.
did 11th and 12th grade there, and then graduated and went to university. And I knew at age 10 I would be a classroom teacher, but I
Mhm.
also knew at age 10 it would not be with 38 or 28 or 32 children. I knew it wouldn't be a large classroom. So, I mean, I knew that, which is weird to know at age 10, but I knew I wanted to be a teacher and I was going to teach a small classroom. So I ended up becoming a speech pathologist. And guess what we do? We don't have any more than about 6 kids at a time in our classroom because we're working on very specific skills and it's very communicative. So it must be more one-on-one.
Mhm.
Um, and that was my schooling and my career for 10 years. And in that time, I married, and that was not a very good situation. And I found myself literally running for my life. Uh, and that's when I know that the Lord is my protector and
Mhm.
my provider. Um, I became a believer at age 18, a sophomore in college. Um, but my walk was not strong, not deep. I was curious. I knew where I was going, but you just didn't have that depth. I was a young believer and
Right.
growing and being sanctified and being changed, and old things were going away and new interests were coming.
Mhm. And it's a process.
It is. And
Mhm.
um, so that ended. And I just dove head over heels into ministry, and um, like, okay, I'm not seeking any other earthly relationship. It is just me and Jesus. And I was good with that. I was really good with that. I was working, and um, and then all of a sudden there was a lady in the choir that said, "Do you know such and such soldier?" And I'm like, "Nope, don't know him." And that sort of opened a whole can of worms. And here we are, 30 years later. Um, so I was remarried, had to go through lots of counseling. And then we were remarried, or I was remarried. And 4 kids later, And I never thought I would homeschool because I was going to be a speech pathologist. But when I held that little boy in my arms, I just said, no, this is where I want to be. And um, God made a way for me to be home. And then one thing led to another. Every 2.5, 3 years, there was a kid and a move. It was kind of funny. In our wedding, the pastor said, "You will find blessings in the transitions of life." And he was talking about, army moves, kind of relating that to army moves. And yes, every army move, I got pregnant. Somehow in the middle,
Wow.
it happened. And
It's
uh,
almost like he spoke that over you.
exactly, you will find your blessings um, in transition. So I had all of them, as naturally as you can. I said no to a lot of things in the hospital. But military hospitals are kind of a great place to have babies because they're not the first to, they don't have to offer you anything.
Mm,
Um, they don't have to offer you anything.
wow.
So you can have, I had a really great deliveries at military hospitals. It was the one at the not military hospital that was the most difficult and life threatening. And it was the first one.
Wow.
Yeah.
Mm,
Um, so when I decided that, and my 3-year-old, 4-year-old, my oldest, he was just learning so rapidly, I couldn't keep up with all that he was wanting to do. Like, Mama, I want to write grandmommy.
at
Um, Tell
3.
me how to spell. Tell me how to spell. So I would cook dinner, and he would sit at the table, and I would call out letters. He said, "This is what I want to say," and I would tell him. And I had a little alphabet under the around the kitchen or the dining room wall at the little preschool ABCs. And he would look for the letter. He knew his letters, and he would look for it, and he would
Aw.
write it out. So I now have the precious file folder with all of those sweet little letters in it from 1998,
Aw.
99. Yeah, so sweet. Um, so I used my degree at the kitchen table when I decided to become a homeschool mom. I thought, I think I can do this.
Mhm.
There was back in 1999, I didn't know very many homeschool moms, and there was not a lot of curriculum, and we certainly didn't own a computer.
Mhm.
So it was, let's go to the library, and that's how we
Mhm.
did it. But the book we read the most, and sorry, this is my first worn out Bible. I've got another one on the kitchen table. I've had to duct tape it back together.
It looks great. You did a very beautiful job with duct tape.
But we read this book every day, and some days it was so funny. Some days I can remember reading and just being in tears at the kitchen table, and these 4 children sitting here just looking at me like, "What's wrong with mom?" And
I'm glad I wasn't the only one.
I'm just like, "Do you see the beauty?"
Yes.
Do you
And I did that with
understand?
other books too. I mean, the Bible is the most precious, but
Yeah.
I would do it with other books that
Oh,
just
yeah. Oh, yeah. Do you see what God has done?
yes.
And honestly, that translated to their little hearts. It did.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah.
I wasn't perfect by any means. I stumbled through it and didn't understand it. And we just picked up a book every day and started reading. And that's how we educated ourselves. And I asked lots of moms, hey, what are you doing? And they shared curriculum with me. They took me to conferences. Um, and I was just a sponge and I learned right along with them.
Yeah.
And I knew that as the mom, I needed to be one page ahead. That's all you need to be. Mamas, if you're homeschooling, you just need to be one page ahead. If you're an entrepreneur, you just need to be one page ahead. You don't have to.
Even
Oh,
even one paragraph ahead.
that's right.
I'm telling you, I would
Yeah.
go to the library. My favorite was to check out the like young adult books, the young
Mhm.
adult version of the history books because
Yes.
it condensed it down
Yes.
to what you really needed to know. It
Yep.
didn't put a whole bunch of fluff in there.
No.
It would be in language that anyone can understand.
Mhm.
And it was so interesting.
Mhm.
And we did history that way. I had a marker board and we would do our history lesson together and they would take notes. And then I would make quizzes and tests from that.
Mhm.
And we did science that way a lot. But I also love Magic School Bus for science, those shows, because it made it fun. Mrs. Frizzle.
She was amazing. Yes. In fact, I just found some. I like to go thrifting, and I found 5 or 6 little Magic School Bus books, and I got those for my son. He
Mhm.
was thrilled. He was like, "Mom, this is fantastic." He's
Yes.
29. You know,
Hey, they're
like,
still good.
"No, this is my
All ages can
child."
learn from those books because they have experiments in them and
Exactly. Experiments, and he is fostering, a 9 and 4-year-old, and
oh,
he
perfect.
was and they have never been exposed to that kind of thing, so
They're
he's
having so
like,
much fun, I imagine.
"Look, this is from my childhood. Here's um, so yeah, he's reliving his childhood. He's having a great time.
So you homeschooled. How many years did you homeschool?
Ooh, 25. But
Yeah.
if we count, no, it was more than that because Noah was learning, he was teaching himself how to write and read at age 3.5. And he's 29 now. So we'll say 27.
Okay.
But I'm not that old. I'm only 32.
Right?
Yeah. So,
And you know, I'm sure there's so many moments as you've already shared the tearful ones where you can just see, the significance, your significance that you're pouring into your children, their significance
yeah.
because you're
Yeah.
teaching them where it comes from. It comes from in the beginning, God
Mhm.
created the heavens and the earth
Mhm.
and showing them where they came from
Mhm.
and why we're here. Because these are the questions that all the humans have like, where did I come from?
Yeah.
Why am I
Why am I
here?
here? Mhm.
And
Mhm.
when you answer those questions, that's the beginning of confidence and
Correct.
God confidence.
And I told them from early on, we may read a lot of books on the bookshelf, but this is the book. I don't care if
Mhm,
you read another book. I
mhm.
want you to read this one every day.
Yeah,
Get to know this book because it will speak to you. It will touch your heart. It will change your life. The
yeah,
God of this book will change your life.
yes.
Um, and that really took hold. I
Mm,
think as I did not do it perfectly. I had to die to myself a lot
mm,
and not do what I wanted to do
mm,
in a day, but know that they are going to live beyond me, hopefully.
mhm, mhm.
Uh, they are not mine, they are his. I
Yes.
need to steward them well. So I need to, as much as I would have liked to have, kicked up my heels and just not done anything or, just do what you want to do. Just do what you want to do. No, we have to be disciplined. We have to be
Yeah.
disciplined to be in the books. And um, And learning can take place in many places. It doesn't have to
Yes,
be a book. So
correct.
we were in the backyard, we were in the neighborhood, we were
At
making
the zoo. Did
yeah,
we go to the zoo? I
yeah,
love the zoo.
yeah, at the zoo. We were at art museums. We were at the Children's Art Museum. We were
We
making
have some American history places here.
yes, you have a really good one.
Mhm.
I've been there.
We have
We've been
Constitution Village in
yes,
Huntsville, and
we've
it is excellent.
is it Monroe? No, where is it? Montevallo?
And there's Montevallo also that
Montevallo.
has American Village.
Yes, I love that
Mhm.
place. It
I do
is like
too. They
stepping into
reenact.
Boston. It is a gem of a place.
It
Don't
is.
tell anybody we know about it.
Don't tell anybody. It's our secret.
It's not yours. Don't no, don't. No, it is magnificent
And
and
you can see God's significance and his story and
yes,
his intervention all
yes,
through the American history
exactly,
story.
exactly.
And of course, science and math
Mhm,
and
mhm,
even the English language and how it's evolved.
yes.
There's just so many things about being a homeschool mom that there's confirmations over and over again
Mhm, mhm,
of God and His presence
mm,
in our life, and that
mhm,
He's in control,
mhm,
that He's weaving everything together.
mhm,
I mean, we
mhm.
see it in His Word. Like, I love the story of Joseph. And
Mm,
I named my son Joseph. His
yeah,
name is Joseph Samuel because I love both of those Bible stories and
mhm,
Bible people,
mhm,
um, and how God just orchestrated everything.
mhm.
But as we look at it, the subjects we study with our kids as homeschool moms, or maybe your child is in public school and you're just doing homework every night with
Yeah, you're
them, but
homeschooling.
you're
You're
still seeing
homeschooling.
it. You're
You
still
are,
seeing it.
you are.
And it's just amazing to see God showing up in the places we would least expect it
Yeah.
sometimes.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
wow, I can see God in these root words. Like, I taught Latin to my girls,
Mhm.
and we studied 2 or 3 years all these root words, and,
Yeah.
just learning that as a base and seeing you can see God in that too, because
Mhm,
there's always history with
mhm,
words and their
mhm.
roots.
There is.
So
It's so good.
and you've been a doula. I know that
Yes.
helping deliver babies,
Yes. So I
like,
do. I go with
wow.
moms. Um, we start at about 36, 37 weeks, and we meet together and talk about how she wants to give birth to this little baby she's carrying. And um, I give her some um, books to read and um, classes to take. And then we sort of make I put her in my phone as on alert when it gets about 2 weeks to the due date. And she knows she can text me anytime and ask questions. And I give her, exercises to do or just encourage her. The
Mhm,
last 2 or 3 weeks is always rough anyway.
mhm.
It doesn't matter. It's always hard because you're just ready, and
Ready.
yeah, and in the middle of the night, when I get the call, or the middle of the day, I get the call, and it's babies don't wait, so we go and we work it
But
out. We
but
walk.
talk about a place where you can see God and His significance and the seed
Oh,
of greatness He's planted inside of us, inside of these
oh,
moms as they
it's
give birth, and
it's amazing. It's amazing. Um, we talk a lot about dying to self, like it's going to be painful.
mhm,
You will need to decide what you're going to do with that pain. Are you going to react to it in fear and
mhm,
tension? When you react in fear and tension, your body will not let that baby out.
mhm,
But when you say, "Okay, I am moving out of the way.
Mm.
And I am letting what is going to happen because I can't stop it. They won't stay in there till they're 18. They're coming out.
They're coming out, ready or not.
I am not going to fear this
Mhm.
because this is a God made event.
Mm.
And he knew that before he said, let me, or let there be light.
Mm.
He knew that child was in his mind and on his heart
Mhm.
before the foundation of the earth. He knew that mama and dad would create that baby. And
Yeah.
he was in birthing my four kids, I decided to do it naturally, and I did. And every single time I dreaded it. Every single time I about 7.5 months, I thought to myself, what in the world? Oh my stars, this thing has got to come out. You know, it's like, duh. With the first pregnancy, you would go, oh yes. You would be a little shocked. But with the three others, you should have known, Lori, that thing's got to come out. You kind of have that moment where you're like, oh yeah, I got to go through that again. We got to do that again. So I've got to and there
Prepare.
is, you can get there.
Mhm.
I have seen beautiful births where mom is just quietly letting it happen, and it happens. Is it
Mhm.
painful? Yes, but you know that pain, every contraction is, or every crescendo of that wave is bringing you closer and closer to seeing that baby's face.
Mm.
And it has been,
Surrender. I hear surrender
yes,
in what you're saying,
yeah,
that mamas
surrender,
can surrender completely,
yeah,
to
yeah,
the process.
you can. And the most amazing thing is that you can feel God's power. You can
Yes.
feel power, and you can't understand it until you go through it, but you can feel power. There is a wind in that room.
Yeah,
There is.
there is.
Feel it is a moment.
Mhm.
I get teary, and now I've got goosebumps. There's
Yes,
a moment. It is a birth is a spiritual event
it is.
of surrender and power and putting aside your fear, trust. You realize you are not really in charge.
Mm-mm.
So I can fight it and it be more painful, or I can go with it. And yes, it's still painful, but it's painful in a different way,
Mm.
subtle way.
Yeah.
The body and the
I
mind.
think when we recognize who does have the power.
Yeah, yeah,
I'm not in control, but I know who is.
yes.
And when we realize that, I think that's what allowed me to surrender in my
Mhm,
natural childbirth of my
mhm,
children.
mhm,
Um, and it was much harder with Joe. I was a lot older with
mhm,
him, and my body had forgot, as they
mhm,
say.
mhm,
Um, and it was a totally different birth. I mean,
mhm.
the baby has control too. They're emitting
Yes,
hormones.
yes, they do.
They're deciding if they're ready to be born,
Yes.
and he wasn't ready.
Yeah,
So he went to sleep.
yeah.
And I still had contractions, but they went from being 90 seconds long, 30 seconds apart, to being 30 seconds long, 15 minutes apart.
Mhm.
Through after he like, we got to, like, I started at 3 or 4 in the afternoon, and at 1
Mhm.
in the morning, he was like, "Well, I'm done, I'm tired."
Yeah. Yeah, I'm just gonna take a nap. Yeah.
And he did, and eventually, my water broke, but
Yeah.
actually the doctor kinda helped it, at 10 a.m. the
Yeah,
next day.
yeah, yeah, and
And
that's
once that
totally normal,
happened,
that's
then boom,
totally yep.
the real clock
Mhm.
started.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
then he was born. It still was like 5 hours
yeah,
later
yeah,
from then, and
yeah.
so,
Now
yeah,
did
the
you
baby
feel
the
the
baby has some control too.
they do. Did you feel that, like, fetal pushing reflex? Did you let it go? So, like, I know that when I was the first one I had, they just said, "Oh, you're 10 centimeters, start to push." But I didn't have the feeling to push. So I'm
Mhm,
pushing and it's not working, it's not doing anything,
mm,
and it was very mechanical, but I didn't feel it, but I didn't know what I was doing because I didn't understand. Even though I read the books, I
mhm.
needed a doula.
Yeah. I had a nurse midwife with
Oh,
my
see,
first child,
there you
and
go.
I took the Bradley classes, which I think
Yes, I
are
did.
excellent.
Mhm.
And then I learned those breathing techniques and
Yep,
things with
yep,
before my first one was born, and we went for, like, I don't remember, 6 or 9 times, which it was great, it was
yeah,
thorough.
yeah.
And then my second daughter, I had a nurse midwife, a different nurse midwife, she
Mhm,
delivered her. Then the 3rd daughter had the same nurse midwife as the second one, but she had continuing education classes.
mhm,
So the doctor she was practicing under delivered me, and he
mhm,
did a very good job.
mhm,
Didn't try to influence me to have
mhm,
any medication,
mhm,
and was supportive and encouraging through the birth. So when I got pregnant 9.5 years later with Joseph, I used him because
yeah,
I knew he could handle the higher risk that I
uh-huh,
had at that time
yeah,
and still support me in natural childbirth and
you.
know what he was doing. Because my mom had natural childbirth with my brother,
Mhm,
and that doctor was against it,
mhm,
and she had trouble with her afterbirth, and he did not take good care of her to make sure she passed it all, and she ended up with endometriosis and wasn't able to have any more children.
wow, yeah,
So I knew the importance of having a doctor that was pro
mhm,
natural childbirth
mhm,
and had some education in it.
mhm, mhm,
Wasn't just going in it blindly and not knowing what to do because my mom's doctor only knew the other side, and
sure,
so he didn't know how to handle
yeah,
helping her
yeah,
when
yeah,
things didn't go just perfectly.
yeah,
So,
yeah,
but yes, I definitely felt like that sensation of, because when I had Audrey, so Karina was 6 hours, Julia was 4 hours, Audrey was 2 hours, and then Joseph was 18 hours.
yeah, because
But, he
you
he
were
was my
older.
boy, and it was like,
Yeah,
"Oh, it's fine to stay in my mama," and that doctor had given me a pill to
uh-huh,
stimulate labor instead of just letting it start, and I've always felt like if he would just give me 4 more days.
yeah,
But on the other hand, Joseph broke my tailbone coming out because he was that big for
big
me,
big boy.
and I might not have been able to deliver him without C-section if we
Mhm,
had waited. So I kinda felt
yeah,
like, "Okay, God, I can
yeah,
see how you were still in it,
exactly.
and I'm still gonna be grateful."
Mhm. Oh, yes,
Didn't go quite like
health
I wanted
healthy
it
baby,
to.
healthy baby. Yeah,
But with Audrey, my 3rd daughter, there were no beds. Okay, we have to tell this story.
oh,
Sorry,
you
y'all.
do. No,
Press
yep,
pause and come back, but this we're telling this. Okay, so, with Audrey, there were no beds left.
mhm,
The hospital was full. It was a full moon. And, and my husband pulls up in the emergency under the cover, the
yeah,
pavilion. We go up the stair, up the elevator, the door opens, and they're like, "Oh, let's check you." You know, they didn't know. So I'm like, "I'm ready to push." They're like, "We'll see about that." And I had already gone through transition. It just
yeah,
like hit at
yeah,
home.
Yeah.
while the person who we had asked to come get the kids, like, I was okay. I was like, "Oh, y'all take your time. The clothes weren't packed yet." And they're, "Oh, y'all take your time," packing the other 2 girls. And all of a sudden, transition hit, and I was like, "Y'all hurry up."
Yeah.
So my husband was like, "What? What?" So we get there. We're just minutes away from the hospital,
Yeah.
living in town, and we go up the elevator, and I'm like, "I'm ready to push." And I'm like, "We'll see about that." And then when they check me, they're like, "She's dilated to 10. We've got overachievers here, but we don't have a birthing bed." The bottom breaks down. Like, I don't need one.
No, I mean,
Was
he's
born just
coming. There's
a few
yeah,
minutes later, and the car was, I think, I don't want to exaggerate, but I think the car is was still running in the in the ER lane. And after I had my daughter, he
yeah.
goes down and moves the car.
That's
Went that
funny.
fast.
That's
Yeah,
funny. That
I
is fast.
didn't.
You're lucky
Yeah,
you
I
didn't have her
didn't
in the
have her at home. I didn't have her in the car.
yeah,
Got out of the
yeah,
elevator and
yeah,
basically to whatever bed they had, and I
yeah,
had her. So yeah, I felt that feeling to push.
yeah, yeah. And, the baby will push itself right out.
Yep.
You don't have
You
to do
know,
too much
you
work.
see it
It
in
just lay
movies
down.
with the Indian women in the field, and
Yeah,
boom, that baby comes out, and she reaches down, pulls it up to her breast, and the baby nurses,
yeah,
and you're like, "What?" And then back in the day, good
but it
grief, she
happened.
might have went ahead and worked some more. I don't
Yes,
know about
this
that,
is
but
true, this is true.
not me.
No,
Maybe
no,
God made it a little bit, they were either super strong or maybe birth wasn't quite as hard. I think it's always been hard, though. Those women were
I think
just
it's always
amazing.
it's always been tough, but I think they were better physically fit
Fit. They were
because
just
they were
tough,
outside working.
and
They
they were used
were
to more pain.
they weren't yeah, they weren't sitting at a desk, uh,
Mhm.
because when you do that over time, your muscles change
Your
and
muscles
shrink.
change.
Yeah,
Yeah, everything.
mhm.
Your pelvis
No, yeah,
changes because I get adjusted at the chiropractor every week, and
yeah,
everything has to be adjusted, let's just say that.
yeah,
So, yeah, it all matters. It all
it
matters.
does, it
So,
does.
but you have done so many amazing things and
Oh, and I'm
worn
not
so
done
many
yet.
different hats that
Yes,
you
not
have
done.
seen God's significance, and that has
Oh,
pointed to your own significance
absolutely.
inside of those places,
Yeah.
whether as a daughter of, I want to, the word that came to mind when you described your parents was whimsical. It was just like
Yes,
a
a
whimsical,
a little whimsical colorful,
it was so beautiful
colorful,
and colorful and
um,
fun
but very normal,
and very
very
normal.
regular, we ate tuna fish sandwiches and watched I Love Lucy.
There you go. It still had, there's always common threads that we
Absolutely,
all share,
absolutely.
and then there's always unique things
Yeah,
as well that
yeah,
are unique to us that
mm,
makes it matter. Even you today sharing your story with us,
mhm,
it matters.
mhm,
It matters that you
mhm,
shared.
mhm.
So thank you so much for coming on and
I love
sharing with me. I can't wait to do this again because I know we'll have different stories to share.
I'll see you next week.
I love you, Lori.
I'll see you next week. Bye, dear.